Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. It's me, DuckGod71, and today I'm playing and reviewing every single game in the brand new Roblox Games event. Well, the event has already ended by the time I've made this video, but it takes time to edit the video, so that's why it's out a bit late. But anyway, let's get into our first game, Roblox. Okay, so let's start with Roblox, which is our first game of the event. So, for the first silver, you need to complete 3 songs in matches with 3 or more players. This can be a bit annoying, but because Roblox, not many people play it, and with the event, thousands of people are playing it, so lots of people want to do the quest, so it's not really that hard. And then for the second silver, you need to get 500 points by completing quests. There's hard quests that give you lots of points, and there's easy quests that give you less points. And then for the third silver, you just need 1,000 points. For the shines, you'll find those around the map, and it also gives you some clues in the menu of where the event thing is. So overall, I give Roblox a 5 out of 10, and let's move on to our next game, Race Clicker. So for Race Clicker, they made the event world, which you'd think that'd be good, right? But no. It's just the most boring AFK thing ever, because you can just AFK it. So you need to get 1,250 the game's wins, which is pretty simple. You just AFK really, and turn on your auto run. Then you just hatch 5 of the game's eggs, which you just need the game's wins for. That's also very easy. And then you just have to complete 5 of the game's races. So overall, this game didn't put in much effort. And that's why I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. So let's go to our next game, Obby But You're on a Bike. So for Obby But You're on a Bike, they added an event world, just like Race Clicker. However, it was better. And they also had a little more theming. So you just had to complete that for the first silver. Then you just had to be 2 time trials, one in the event world, and then 1 in World 1. Then you just had to be top 3 in a race in the racing mode, or you just have to kind of just do 3 races. It's very simple. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because of the event world was cool. And now let's go on to our next game, Fishing Simulator. So for Fishing Simulator, you just had to do a fishing competition against AI to get your first silver. Then, for your second silver, you need to get 20 tails of ginormous trouts from the ocean, which, because I was in a private server and I hadn't really played the game before on that account, it was a little harder than I expected to do that one. But that's just because when I was in a public server, some random guy with the best gear was just killing every single one of them. And then for the next one, which is probably one of the most annoying ones, it's you have to do a race. This seems normal. You do the race with a jet ski. However, you need 2 players. And when I played it, no one else really wanted to do the race. So I had to get some random guy, and he helped me. So thank you to that person. And the race was 7 minutes long, so it wasn't really that fun. There was only like booster pads, and yeah, that was about it. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because of the first 2 were good, but the third one wasn't that great. So let's go on to our next game, Funky Friday. So for Funky Friday's quest, you had to do a summer-themed obby, which kind of just felt like they just kept copy and pasting the models that they had in it. So maybe they'd have like donuts, you had to jump on those, or maybe like beach balls, I can't exactly remember, and then maybe like 2 minutes later in the obby they just had the exact same thing. So yeah, not much effort was put into the obby for the first silver. And for the second silver, you just had to play certain songs and get a certain amount of score. I think it's half the amount of score that you could possibly get in the song, and then you had to play certain songs with a friend. Or because I didn't want to do it with a friend or some random person, that I just did it with 2 alts because I'm just that good at the game. That was the third silver. They also had UGC, however, they had only 500 stock for each shoes, you see, and I didn't get them. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to give Funky Friday a 4 out of 10. And now we're going on to tongue battles. So for tongue battles, you need to unlock free tongues in the shop with coins. Then you need to shoot and score 10 goals in the battlefield. And then you have to deal 800 damage in the team mode, which it seems very simple. But with the second one where you had to shoot and score 10 goals, everyone else in the server also wants to shoot and score 10 goals. So you might have a little problem there. And then dealing 800 damage in the team mode is alright, you just have to play it for like 10 minutes. And that's about it. I give the game a 5 out of 10. And let's go to our next game, which is Drive World. So for Drive World's quest, you needed to get 5,000 airtime, which was simple and easy. And then for the second silver, you needed to complete 5 different summer obbies, which were very fun to do. And you'd find the shines in each one of them. And then you had to do races with 4 or more people. So I did this with 2 of my alt accounts and some other random person in the server. So then we did that. So, Drive World, I liked it. It did have its issues, but it was also good. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And now we're going to move on to our next game, Bee Swarm Simulator. So for Bee Swarm's quest, you had to complete golf in different fields. I thought this was good because of Onnit never normally updates its game. But this is good, so well done Onnit for spending an hour of your time making a new update. Or maybe it took a little longer, but that's what I thought it would take. So, I'm going to give the game a 7 out of 10, but then my friend messaged me. And he gave the game a 12.5 out of 10. And he asked me to give you his reasoning. So, let's go through it very quickly. He said, Roblox Bee Swarm Simulator, 12.5 out of 10. Very good and very fun. Not to mention that Gifted Vicious Bee exists, so it bumps it up to a 15 out of 10. Sunbear is cool though, so you gotta add at least 2 points because of his sudden return. But it can't get this score for the golf ball being tedious to aim, as well as the tasks being difficult. I found those very easy, but he disagrees. Getting rid of 4 points. Next I want to address how difficult Tunnel Bear is and how grindy the game is, so we lower 1 point. Finally, it's cool. Plus 0.5 points. This leaves the overall score of Roblox Bee Swarm Simulator to be at a comfortable 12.5 out of 10. I'm aware that some people with access to the 35 bee zone will rate the game higher, but personally I'm at the 30 bee zone, with 32 bees at the time of writing this. Overall, this is the best game on Roblox since the max score you can get is 10 and this got a 12.5. Thank you for listening to my Roblox talk. And that is the end of his little message that he sent me. So now, let's move on to our next game. Pull a Swords. Oh god, this is gonna be bad. So for Pull a Swords quest, it actually surprised me a little bit. So, they added an event world, which was good. So, we first had to do a speedrun 4-styled obby that I died of 5 times because I just did. So, yeah. And then we had to pull 10 different swords, and then we had to fight David Bazooki a few times, and then he kept leveling up, and then you had to go into World 3, which the game devs knew that would take you over half an hour, which is the average time it takes to complete a game in this event. So overall, I give it a 7 out of 10, because even though you had to play the game for a bit, the David Bazooki fight was actually pretty cool. So that's why I gave it a 7 out of 10, and now we're going on to our next game, Driving Empire. Yay. So for Driving Empire, this quest surprised me, because last time they had a whole very cool classic map, but there was one little problem. It took hours to do and it wasn't that great. But for Driving Empire, there's now a race, but the obstacles change rounds, which doesn't mean that it's the same every time, which was an issue with the last one. So they did kind of resolve their problem, I guess. And then you just had to get points from doing the race, then you'd unlock the silvers. It took me about 15 minutes. Now, for the shines, you could just find them around the map. I just watched a YouTube guide because that was the easiest thing that I could do. So, for Driving Empire, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And now let's go on to our next game, Arm Wrestling Simulator. So for Arm Wrestling Simulator, you had to do an obby, then you had to gain strength and arm wrestle a few people throughout your journey through the obby. The shines were found throughout the obby and they were very easy. It would be very hard to miss one. I give it about a 5 out of 10. However, when you completed it, it would also give you like an event egg that you could open in the game. But that does not change my rating, as I don't care about a stupid simulator. So my rating of 5 out of 10 remains. And let's go on to our next game, which is Super Golf. So for Super Golf, we had to score 10 goals in the hockey game mode for the first quest. Then for the second quest, you needed to score 15 times in the basketball theme modes, which were both added in this new update. So that's cool. And then you had to be top 5 in a game, which was annoying to say the least if you suck at Super Golf. Which, I'm not the best at golf in real life, but in this game I was better than the majority of people, so that wasn't too bad. Now, I didn't collect the shine to this one, but I've heard from other videos about they were painfully hard to get, so I'm just going to mention that. So Super Golf, next time you're in the event, please do not put the shines where you put them. So I give Super Golf a 5 out of 10, and let's go to our next game, Basketball Legends. Oh god. So for the quests in Basketball Legends, you have to score 3 dunks, achieve 5 assists, and score a 3-pointer, which in a nutshell is just play the game, which is kinda boring when you don't like basketball or you're not good at it. But it wasn't that hard, even if you weren't good at it, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. And if you're wondering where you would find the shines, you would find those in their little park thing, which is where you can like compete with other players. Yeah, that's kind of it with the park. But anyway, let's go on to our next game, which is Arsenal. Thank you for being in this event. But yeah, let's go on to that right now. So for Arsenal's quest, there was a dungeon-themed mode, which was very cool, and basically one of the best things in the event. So, you had to kill 15 enemies in one run, don't buy upgrades until floor 2, and then you just have to win. Which, I did it all in one run because I'm just good at Arsenal, and that was probably one of my favourite games in the event, which is why I gave it a 9 out of 10. And the shines you could just find at the start of the dungeon, so they weren't too bad. And now, let's move on to our next game, Michael's Zombies. So for the quest in Michael's Zombies, you had to just do quests in a brand new summer event map, which is really cool. So, first of all, you had to get 20,000 total points in the baseball minigame, which was fun, because there'd be a guy throwing the baseball at you, then you hit it, and whatever hoop you hit it into, you get a certain amount of points. And then you had to obtain 60 total points from playing the skeet shooting minigame, which was also quite fun. But please do not shoot the Michael, because it doesn't like that. And then you had to help defeat a pirate ship that spawns every 5 minutes. So you just have to help, you literally only have to hit it with like 1 cannonball, and then once it's defeated, then, you get the 3rd silver. So, yeah, that was good. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, so it's the second best game in the event. And now, let's go to Shark Bite 2. So for the quest in Shark Bite 2, you had to do damage to the shark with the water pistol, which doesn't have much theming, but that's okay. And then, you had to use the galleon, which you've unlocked in the event, to take down another galleon in the server, because lots of people wanted to do the event. It's honestly not that bad. And then you had to complete 4 different stunt jumps, which were like themed on like sports, I guess, because one of them was like a basketball hoop. That's all we really have to say about Shark Bite 2. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because it was a good game. And now let's go on to a game that a lot of people hate, but I quite enjoyed it. Bad Business. So for the quest in Bad Business, you had to get 30 crowns by killing people. There was only a 20% chance of them spawning if you killed someone. Then you had to kill people with a tennis racket. Then you had to kill people by hitting a ball from the tennis racket. Now, I heard that people hate hitting the ball from the tennis racket, but I found that pretty simple, and it's kind of funny when you bang on hit someone with a tennis ball from far away. It's kind of like a sniper. So I actually liked it, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But now we're going on to a game that was actually bad. Well, kind of. Horse Life. So for Horse Life, you had to do boring but easy quests. Because if you had to tame one horse, you had to level up that horse, and then you had to do a race. And the race was there for the event, so that was pretty cool. The shines were server-sided, so only one person could collect that shine in a server. So it's a good thing that I didn't collect those shines. Anyway, I'm going to give the game a 3 out of 10 because why would you want to play Horse Life? But now we're going on to our next game, Pet Catchers. So for Pet Catchers, you had to do like a football saving quest. So someone was kicking the ball in the goal, and then you'd have to save the ball, really. They do it in easy, medium, and hard. Then you do a pet racing quest in difficulties, easy, medium, and hard. And then you do like a quest for a painter, which you just have to like paint tiles, and that was about it. And then you'd find their shines around the painting area, and you'd also find them in the first and second worlds. So it was pretty easy, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because I kind of enjoyed it. Now let's go on to our next game, Eat the World. So for Eat the World, they added an event map, and it was like a summer map, which is pretty cool. Then you had to do quests in it, like do a race, and then you had to like grab stuff from the ground and then hit it at targets, and then you had to gain like a certain amount of points from, eating the ground, or as the game likes to call it, Eat the World. But anyway, I give that a 6 out of 10 because it was alright. Now we're going to go to our next game, Sonic Speed Simulator. So for Sonic Speed Simulator, you need to collect 1,000 Chaos Orbs, and we need to get gold in any time trial, and then you have to beat Metal Sonic in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles race. What? What's this got to do with my event? Why do they have 2 events in one? I guess GameFam is just getting collaborations from anywhere they can now. But anyway, I am going to give Sonic Speed Simulator a 5 out of 10. Now let's go to our next game, Dress to Impress. So for the quest in Dress to Impress, you had to be top 4 in a duo match. Then you had to do a simple obby in a certain amount of time, and then you had to do a race. Yeah, that was kind of it. So I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10. I mean, the second 2 bits were good, but the first bit, because of I don't know how to dress to impress, I had to go in a server with only 2 players and do it that way. But anyway, I did it. And now we are going to go into Launch into Space Simulator. So for Launch into Space Simulator, for the first silver, you had to collect 50 stars, open 7 eggs, and jump from a launcher 7 times. And then, for the second silver, you need to upgrade the launcher to level 2 and reach the moon, which is the second world of the game. Now for the third silver, you just need to hatch 3 event pets, then you also had to reach Ice World. That's all you had to do, and the shines were just found around the first world, the second world, and the third world. I'm going to give the game a 5 out of 10 because they didn't really add much. And now we're going to go on to our next game, which is Adopt Me. So for the quest in Adopt Me, you had to do different sports, and then you had to earn points in those sports to do quests. So you had to do rock throwing, then you had to bounce on a trampoline, and then you had to play tennis. So it was pretty cool, and it was way better than what they did in the classic, and that's why I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. However, the shines were difficult because the map is really big, so They didn't fix that from the classic, but everything else they did. So, let's go to our next game, Super League Soccer. Oh, it's a sports game. So in Super League Soccer, you had to pass to your teammates 7 times, you had to tackle 3 opposing players, and score 3 goals. This is very simple, and you could do it in about half an hour. So that's why I give it a 5 out of 10. The only good thing about this is it has sports theming, but that's just because it's a sports game. So now let's go to Ultimate Football. So for the quest in Ultimate Football, you had to do training in the training centre. Then you had to level up in like a battle pass system. Then you had to get to level 5, level 8 and level 11 for the silvers respectively. So, because you don't have to do actual football, because of I'm not American, I found this very good, and I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The next game will not be the same, because it's Football Fusion 2. That game will be very fun to review, and we'll look at that right now. So for the quest in Football Fusion 2, you had to finish a match, which takes 25 minutes. Then you have to tackle 2 people. That's easy enough. Kind of just run up to people with the ball and tackle them. And now it's time for the next one. Gain 15 yards. How exciting! It is not fun at all. I spent 2 hours doing it. I had to buy a private server with Robux. It is so annoying! Whoever you are, Football Fusion 2 devs, your game is alright, but I do not like your quest by the shouting that you hear in this. So, I'm giving you a 1 out of 10. And now we're going to go on to Hockey Legends and relieve my anger. So, for the quest in Hockey Legends, you had to achieve 2 steals, 5 team scores, and then you had to win a game in the park. Overall, this was a lot easier than Football Fusion 2. However, you did just have to play the game. So, this gets a 4 out of 10. And now we can go to our next game, Gym League. So, for the quest in Gym League, you had to do competitions on game elements, such as deadlifts. The other ones weren't really game elements. However, it contained like sporty stuff. For example, like running. You also had to do boxing too. And that's all you had to do. You kind of just had to do 3 of each. And then you'd get the silvers. So that's about it for Gym League. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because I thought it was just going to be play the game. But instead, they added a little event world. But now we're going to go on to our next game, Moto Rush. So for the quest in Moto Rush, you had to complete 2 races which were about 7 minutes long, which is kind of boring. Then you have to complete a very hard and annoying quest, which is completing the track race in 90 seconds. With the basic bike, you can do it in about 100. Then if you buy a new bike upgrade, you can do it in 95. Well, at least for me. So, to get the 90 seconds, I bought a Robux bike because I did not want to continue grinding the game for like another 2 hours to get enough money to buy a better bike. So yeah, that's why it gets a 2 out of 10. And now let's go to our next game, Volleyball 4.2. So, for the quest in Volleyball 4.2, I thought it'd be easy because it's just volleyball. But no, I was wrong. So first of all, you had to play 1 full pick-ups game. Very easy. Then you had to score 5 points. Fairly simple, I guess. And then you had to do a very annoying shot 3 times where you had to hit someone in the head really fast with the volleyball, which is kind of annoying. So that's why Volleyball 4.2 gets a 3 out of 10. And now we're going on to our next game, Blade Ball. Hopefully they didn't do what they did in the classic again. So for the quest in Blade Ball, I was kind of surprised. Because you just had to do quests. Like, eliminate 5 players. And then you had to kill a boss, which was actually pretty good. And that was the only good bit about Blade Ball. However, at least you didn't have to spend hours doing the tasks like you had to do in the classic. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. And let's go to our next game, Horse Race Simulator. Oh, it's another simulator. So for the quest in Horse Race Simulator, you had to defeat Horse Racing Fan 1 time in the event world, achieve top 6 3 times in World 1, and then you had to defeat Horse Racing Master 10 times in the event world. Now, this game wasn't annoying to do. You just had to AFK for like 40 minutes. So that's why I give it a 3 out of 10. So now let's go on to our next game, Watermelon Go. So for the quest in Watermelon Go, for the first silver, you needed to merge 25 fruits and create fruit number 7, which was easy. Then for the second silver, you needed to get a high score of 1,500, which is also fairly easy. Then you had to merge 25 fruit in the first minute of a match. That's also pretty easy too. Now, for the third silver, you need to win 1 public match duel, which can be a little tricky, but at least they removed the other part of the third silver, where you had to win by getting a watermelon. But when I played it, they didn't have that, they removed it. So that's why I'm giving the game a 5 out of 10. Now we're going to go on to our next game, Track and Field Infinite. Right. For the quest in Track and Field Infinite, you needed to get 50 coins for the first silver. That's very easy. Then you have to create or join a full relay team and run a relay, which is also pretty simple if you have some alt accounts and maybe even some friends if you have any. And then you have to compete at least 1 time in 10 different events, which is a little annoying, but it's not as bad as other games. So we are going to put Track and Field Infinite in a 4 out of 10, and now we're going to go to the next game, Pacer Test. Okay, so for Pacer Test, the quests were easy, but it took a bit of time. So first of all, you had to gain 10 speed, complete round 5 of the Pacer Test 5 times, and win the Pacer Test 3 times with a minimum of 3 players. So it was pretty simple, but it did take like 40 minutes. There's not much else more to the game. It's pretty boring. After the event, it dropped in players massively. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Now let's go on to our next game, Horrific Housing. So, for the quest in Horrific Housing, you had to survive a flash flood that had a 60% chance of spawning, win on the island map, and then you had to kill the epic duck that had a 40% chance of spawning. So overall, it was quite simple. It did take an hour, but I kind of liked the game, so that was alright for me. So that's why I give it a 6 out of 10. And now we're going to go on to our next game, Midnight Racing Tokyo. So for the quest in Midnight Racing Tokyo, you just had to complete quests for Aki and Sato, which was pretty easy. And then you get the 2 silvers from that. But then the last silver, you had to do something different. You had to win the event race. So if you sucked at driving, and then there's like multiple people in a server, maybe like 5 people also trying to do the race, then it's gonna be very hard for you to do the race, and you also need another person there, so you can't just do it by yourself. So I give that a 5 out of 10, and let's go to our next game, Untitled Boxing Game. So the quest in Untitled Boxing Game surprised me, because you had to just defeat like 3 people. So you had to defeat Yeonsu Han, you had to defeat Wildcard, then you had to knock down Father Bring Us once, because he was hard. So I heard lots of people say about this one was hard, and when I first did it, I did find it a bit tricky, but then I found a trick, and then I could do it fairly easily. So yeah, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. I'd say it was one of the better games in the event. And now, let's go to Murderers vs. Sheriffs Duels. Oh, right. So for the quest in Murderers vs. Sheriffs Duels, you needed to win 2 group matches in a row without abilities. What a great start for the first silver. Then for the second silver, you can win 15 rounds in group matches, or win a group match without dying, which because I had alt accounts, I just did the harder one. And then for the last silver, you get 15 knife kills in a group matches, or win a group match using a knife only and secure at least 5 kills, which I did the second one because I have alt accounts. So that is a 5 out of 10. Wasn't the greatest, wasn't the worst. I'd say it's worse than what they did in the hunt. So they've gotten worse. But anyway, let's go on to Boxing League. Maybe it'll be as good as Untitled Boxing Game? Who knows? So for the Boxing League quest, you had to do 500 damage for 1 silver. Then you had to win 3 duo matches. Oh, what a pain. For another silver. And then you have to win a 5-player brawl of where there's much better players trying to beat you. So that one was really annoying for a lot of people. It was also really annoying for me because there's no private servers. So that's why I'm giving it a 2 out of 10 because it's not as bad as Football Fusion 2. Now we're going to go on to our next game, Be NPC or Die. So for the quest in Be NPC or Die, for the first silver, you had to do tasks as a criminal. You had to do 10 tasks in like rounds, and then you had to win once. For the first silver. For the second silver, it was a sheriff quest. You needed to find 5 criminals as the sheriff, and you had to win as a sheriff once. And then for the third silver, you had to get to the lighthouse first and light it, and then that's basically all the silvers, and you just find the shines around the lobby. So I give that a 5 out of 10. And now let's move on to our next game, HCBB 9v9 2.0. What a long name, but anyway, let's get on to that right now. So, for the quest in HCBB 9v9 2.0, which is such a strange name, first of all you had to play the tutorial for the first silver, then you had to hit the ball 2 times in a game of Home Run Derby. That's also pretty easy. Then you had to get 5 points in the event world, which is basically just hit the baseball. And then you have to run, and then you get points. So that's about it for HCBB 9v9 2.0. So I give it a 5 out of 10, and let's go on to our next game, Keys. So for the quest in Keys, you had to escape from the monster's pursuit 5 times, open a total of 10 doors, and rescue your teammates 5 times. That one's pretty annoying. And then you had to escape through the exit door 3 times. That's about it for Keys. The rescue your teammates 5 times is annoying because that means that you have to find people who the killer has just got, and then you have to try and save them, but then the killer will just go for you. So I give that a 4 out of 10 because it was literally just play the game. They didn't really add anything new. So let's go to our next game, Epic Minigames. I sure hope it's epic. So for the quest in Epic Minigames, you had to complete 3 games in the arcade. That was pretty cool. Then you had to find sports gear in minigames. Again, pretty simple. And then you had to win 5 sport minigames, which some people said was hard, but I found it fairly easy. And also, apparently the arcade was really hard, of like the boxing one, but they seemed to nerf everything when I played it. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. And now we're going to the next game, which is Fashion Famous. Oh. So for the quest in Fashion Famous, you had to place top 3 in Sporty Colour Rush. Then you have to finish top 3 in Poolside Clam. And then you had to place top 3 in Extreme Sports 3 times in a row. So in a nutshell, I just went in a private server and just left the game on for like an hour, and then I finished it. I'm going to give that a 3 out of 10 because that was the most boring thing I've ever done. And now we're going to go on to Slap Battles. So for the quest in Slap Battles, you had to play a new mode called Slap Ball, I think. You first had to score 4 goals, hit 10 people with the ball, which is kind of fun, and then you had to win 3 games. If you're wondering, how would you hit 10 people with the ball? It's because if they kind of combine football and slap battles, because if you would hit the ball with the slapping. And it was kind of cool because you could also just slap the players and then you could just easily score a goal. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Now we're going on to Creatures of Scenaria, a game that I didn't enjoy so much. So for the quest in Creatures of Scenaria, you need to be in a pack for some reason. For the first one, to get your first silver. Then you need to kill 3 creatures in the arena, which is quite difficult. However, I did it very easily. So, lovely. And then you have to find the 5 shines / trinkets around the map. And you have to do that for the last silver because they thought that'd be an amazing idea because they ran out of ideas. And the map's quite big and I didn't want to look at a guide, so it took me about like half an hour to find the shines. But I eventually found them. I'm going to give that a 4 out of 10. And then we're going to go to our next game, Real Football 24. So, for the quest in Real Football 24, you had to play a match, score a goal, and win a game. That's really all you had to do. It sounds easy on paper, but it's not as easy. Play a match, just AFK. Scoring a goal, though, it's not as easy as like Super League Soccer or like Slap Battles. Because if you play the game, you'll know what I mean. Winning a game, you can just AFK or you can just try and help your team out, I guess. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 10. And now we're going to go to our final game, Survive the Killer. We are now on to the final game, finally, which is Survive the Killer. So for the first silver, you need to revive 10 players with one other person. Yeah. It's really, really annoying. That's probably the worst one. Then you had to escape with a friend 3 times. What if you don't have a friend? What would you do then? Then you had to complete the subway map by activating all the switches and escape on the train. None of these had any theming. The last one was alright, I guess, but the other 2 were horrible. And yeah, that gets a 3 out of 10. And there's no more games to do except for the boss fight. And we're doing that right after this. Now it's time for the boss fight. So, there was this random rock and then it just started mutating or it just started turning green, really. It wasn't really mutating. And then there was like a little portal that opened up. Then you went in. There was like a 1x1x1 boss fight. And it was actually pretty cool. And even better, you even get an item. And it was way better than the one in the classic. The one in the classic was like a joke compared to this one. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And that's everything in the event. So if you've been watching this far, I'd like to thank you. And thank you to my channel members, Matt and Kevin. And there may not be a video in a while because of this video has taken ages to make. So if you've made it this far, just please like and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video in 2 weeks. Bye guys!